Welcome to Daily Success. Listen in on these personal conversations with today's leaders, innovators, and influencers as they discuss daily success principles, systems, and solutions. Get ready for Daily Success. Now, here's your host.
Hi, this is Tammy Patzer, and I'm really excited to introduce today's guest, Joy Angevin Balmer. Joy is a life force energy healer validated by science. She has been gifted with the ability to harness life force energy and transmit it anywhere on this planet. Joy has the ability to help individuals in various areas such as achieving better quality sleep, becoming more self-confident, experiencing more profound inner peace, experiencing increased energy levels, and realizing positive shifts in prosperity, health, and inner peace, and of course, perception. Joy suffered from symptoms of Lyme disease, recovered, and now assists others with similar struggles. She is committed to the science of life force energy to usher in a new era of human health and wellness. Her mission is to aid humanity so that people can live their lives to their highest potential by raising their consciousness through the Trivedi effect. Welcome. How are you today?
Hi, Tammy. Thank you for having me. I'm well. I'm in, Henderson, Nevada, and we woke up this morning with 4 inches of snow. It was completely beautiful, but kind of rare and kind of a shock for all of us.
Wow. Well, that's a gift because I remember I actually grew up in Oregon and we had snow every now and then, but it was always just this very exciting time when we'd actually get, more than a sprinkling. We'd actually get maybe a couple inches, and of course school would be out. So I imagine in Las Vegas, I wonder if school's out because of the snow, because it could create some problems if you're not used to it.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know. I didn't hear. I went for a walk this morning, and all kinds of people were out with their cameras. It was pretty funny because it was so beautiful.
Yes.
Just all the palm trees were just covered with snow.
And you know what? The thing about snow, it's the silence of snow.
Right.
That actually is perfect for what we're going to talk about today, about spirituality and about our fears and our gratitude and the effort it takes to become this spiritual person with a higher consciousness. And I know that it's something that you've spent a lot of time and energy on. So let's go ahead and I'll let you set the stage with you talking about what spirituality means to you.
Thank you, Tammy. And let's start with a definition of spirituality. I bet there's probably as many definitions out there as there are people. But I just want to think, I think there are 3 main points. I don't see it as religion, but I see it as a connection to something greater than myself. And I see it as a connection that everybody on earth has the same connection, the connection to something greater than themselves. And the third thing is that we're all connected, and we're connected through love and compassion. And when we can feel that connection and we can experience it through love and compassion, then we also feel the connection to something greater than ourselves. So that's my definition of spirituality.
Well, that's a really beautiful definition when you think about it, because what you're basically saying is, hey, we're all connected and we were all created to be connected to our life force or our source.
Right.
And where a lot of people get confused, and you said it right away, spirituality is not about religion at all. And I think that you're right on point with that. And I think that's where many people get confused is because they liken their spiritual life with some religion, and they don't really realize that it's this personal relationship they have with their life force, and that we're all connected in some way. And I know you have a lot of experience also with studying the Trivedi effect, and if you could just tell everyone what that is, and then we can dig into something that I think stops a lot of it, and that is fear. So we'll start with the Trivedi effect, what it is, and then you can move on into fear, because I think you have a big message for everyone related to fear.
Right. Sort of. I don't know. I mean, everybody has fear. So the thing is, here it is. Guruji Mahendra Trivedi is the founder of the Trivedi effect. And he has, he's ushering a new paradigm. He is doing the work. He's doing the science experiments. He's done science experiments all over the world on all topics, agriculture, biology, you name it. He's done it. He's done over 4,000 science experiments. All that proves this relationship between consciousness, science, and the divine. The Trivedi effect is harnessing that life force energy and transmitting it to living or non-living things for a higher purpose. It's all about transformation. It's all about growing. It's all about connecting to the divine. It's all about that, the spirituality of being connected to your higher self, to the God of your understanding. So with the Trivedi effect, someone like with my business, Joy Blessings, I can work with a client and I can help them be connected to the God of their understanding, because we're all connected. And because we're all connected and we're all connected to the God of our understanding, we can harness that energy and help other people. So it's a really powerful, powerful new paradigm, a new way of thinking. And what I wanted to say about spirituality, because people hear the word spirituality and they think of religion, and it's like a big block. It's like a big block, and they can't hear anything else. Like, I find so often I like to use the word God. God is the same as that creation, that connection that we all have to something greater than ourselves. You can call it life force. You can call it universal energy. You can call it source. There's so many different names that people use. But if you use the word God, it kind of puts this big, people, their eyes glaze over. they suddenly, they can't hear anymore. They can't listen. And that's fear. So that's where we're starting to talk about fear. Where is that fear coming from? And how is it stopping you from growing? How is it stopping you from transformation?
Wow. I think that you hit the nail on the head. And it's funny because I have an example, perfect example. When I told my sister I was working with Mahendra Trivedi, and I said that he's a conduit who helps people connect to the God of their understanding, immediately she said, "You mean God the Father? The God, Jesus?" And I said, well, there is no religion connected to it. You can be any religion and still believe that in the God of your understanding. And it was like she put on gloves. She was ready to fight for her belief or her religion. And even when I explained that it was 100% complementary to any belief system, she did exactly what you said. She put a block on it because I used the word God. And I think when you said that about the fear of what? Change of beliefs, fear of what you've been taught, fear of having your eyes opened. What do you think about that? Where does this fear, when what you just said about being connected to the source, life force, to God, to the God of your understanding, what about that statement do you think, what is the fear that bubbles up in people?
You know, people have all kinds of fear. I don't know if it's fear of change, if it's fear of being different and not fitting in. People have all kinds of fear. And I think maybe the bottom line, the bottom fear, this is something that Susan Jeffers, she writes a book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. It's a very interesting book on facing your fears. She says the bottom line to all fears is the fear that you can't handle it. So it could be that just that word God is so structured in our belief system, in our physiology, that just to hear it in a different connotation, as like I said, a different paradigm we're trying to have a new language here. We're trying to, use science to prove it, and people don't want to change. They don't know if they can handle it. They don't know. It's easier and more comforting to just stay the way you are and not to grow. So
and a lot of times in traditional religion, we're always taught that God is like the father or always there protecting us, and that almost like we're not responsible for ourselves. We're the children. And think about it. If you're talking about the God of your understanding and that you have this direct connection, for some people, especially if they have different religious beliefs, that may be a very difficult concept to think that you don't need anyone else to, like a priest, to confess to or something, because you could be communicating directly and receiving this energy directly and be in more control of your life.
You're exactly.
Fear of being responsible, fear of autonomy. That's huge.
Yeah, you're exactly, that's it. I mean, I think that's one. I mean, there's got to be so many different reasons why people have the fear. But, that's definitely one of them. My mom had that one. One time she broke her foot. And I was visiting her, and I said, Mom, just let me use the Trivedi effect to just for your foot. Let's just ask the divine if he'll give you some relief from the pain of your broken foot. And she wouldn't do it. And then it was Sunday. I was there for a whole week, and she really wanted me to go to church with her. And so I said, well, Mom, yeah, I'll go to church with you if you let me use the Trivedi effect on your foot, for your foot. And so she wanted me to go to church with her so bad that she said, okay. And, we went to church, and it was nice. I mean, I loved going to church with my mom because it was just always just so comfortable, and it was how we were raised, and it was so sweet. It was like eating a cinnamon roll. It was just so nice. Anyway, we got home and we had dinner, and then I said, Mom, how about we do that Trivedi effect now? She said, sure. But she says, what do I do? I says, well, take off your shoes and socks and pray to the God of your understanding. Just pray to your divine and ask for whatever it takes to make you happy. I didn't even go into the broken foot or anything. This is just simple. And then I did the same. And together we just were there. And it was an interesting thing, because when 10 minutes later, she just had, she came out of it like a bull coming out of a pit. She was so mad. What did you do? And I said, Mom, I didn't do anything. I just, you prayed to the God of your understanding, and I did the same, and I harnessed the energy of the universe. And she was like so mad. But the funny thing was that her foot didn't have any more pain, and she didn't have to put this boot on, and she didn't have to walk around with this boot for 6 weeks. But she wouldn't talk to me about it, because her belief system was so strong that, like you said, to have somebody else be this person who could do this, not a priest, brought up too much fear for her to even address it, even talk about it.
That's really interesting, because again, you, Mr. Trivetti, it isn't you. You are the conduit for the life force energy, and
absolutely, that's correct.
Guruji makes it very, very clear. He says, to become a good conduit, you can't be like wood. If you think about it, wood is not a conductor. You have to be like metal, or some high conductor type metal. So you have to be more honest and have integrity, and I always liken it to the things that when you're little, your mother always would teach you about: be kind and be sincere and be honest, and then you become a better conduit. And it's interesting because you basically told her to do something that, if she's in any type of Christian church, people say pray.
Yes.
Pray. But at the same time, you also instructed her, it isn't that you're praying for anything in particular. You're praying for the highest and best. What is it that can come that is going to help? And in the case of the foot, since you don't know what she was really praying in her mind, but what you were doing, but together you helped, and then the foot responded, because the energy is an intelligent energy, because of course, if it's the God of your understanding, it's the highest energy life force there is. And that's really, really a great example of the fact that you don't even have to believe in it for it to benefit you.
Right.
And I think that's really interesting, how people think that they have to have this big belief that is really, really strong. And that's where that fear comes in. It's like, if you said the book title was Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, or something.
Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Right. And that's exactly. And then you benefit, and then that fear, it would seem, would lessen, and once you start that, because I know that people, the higher consciousness, again, for me, before I met Guruji Mahendra Trivetti, I really I can't honestly say that I spent a lot of time even thinking about my consciousness of life, about what that meant. So that's interesting. So from fear, okay, if we go to another extreme, we have gratitude. Fear, of course, is most people see that as a negative emotion. What about the power of gratitude? Where does that play a part in this life force energy and being a good conduit for it?
Well, let's back up just a little bit.
Okay.
I just want to say a couple more things about fear.
Okay.
And that is, when you have just to recognize that there's fear, because I think that people, they don't want to, part of understanding gratitude is recognizing that there's fear. There's fear in every instant. And there's little things, all the time, these little things that come up, like, calling people on the phone. Like I had this, so many people don't like to call people. I mean, it's
I know.
such a silly, stupid fear. I have it. I mean, I have, like, just for 3 days, I put off calling my friend Nancy because I didn't want to pick up the phone and call. And you just think, where is that coming from and what's it doing? And so you need to look at fear and realize that if you want to grow, you have to, there's always going to be fear. So I think it's really important to know that, and to, New Age people say, lean into your fear. You know, sometimes I think, well, what does that mean? Lean into your fear, or lean into any of your emotions. And I think it just means accept those emotions, and then what can you do about them? So with fear, one of the things it says, again, one of the things the research shows is that you need to be responsible. And you were talking about responsibility just a little bit ago. And it's so true. If you need to be responsible for every single one of your actions, and not have blame. Because when you start to blame anyone else or blaming yourself, then you're in fear. And when you feel that blame coming up, or you feel any of the other things like anger, envy, fatigue, those things are all indications that you're not moving through your fear, that you're staying and holding on to your fear. So I think that it's just a different thing to start to look at, to become aware of what you're doing, how you're feeling. And it happens all the time so quick that you're in some sort of fear. Like even just before this call, I got an email from my marketing team, and they said, you got to write these articles about this, this, and this. And I'm thinking, what? And immediately I was a little angry, because I thought, well, that's not what I want to write about. I want to write about whatever I want to write about, and I just had to think, no, that's a little bit of fear coming up, fear that I can't write about this topic that they want me to write about. And, it was just this thing of being a little bit leaning into these emotions and how to get past that. And if you recognize it, like I recognized that anger that came up against my marketing team, it just made it stop completely. And when it stops completely, when you're not feeling that fear, then you're in a situation where you can move into gratitude. And the research on gratitude is so interesting. I was looking at 40 different studies on gratitude, and they all say the same thing. They all say, that gratitude is huge for your well-being and your health. And it helps with your career, it helps with your emotions, it helps your personality, it helps your relationships. And just little things like improves your marriage, improves your sleep, makes you bounce back from stress, makes you more optimistic, even makes you more likely to exercise. I mean, isn't that one you wouldn't expect that to come out in gratitude studies, but it does. And it helps you reduce insecurity. So all of these things. So when I was looking at the list, I was thinking, oh my gosh, those things are exactly the things that you get through the Trivedi effect. The benefits are the same. So, from the Trivedi effect, the benefits are
improved sleep is one of them.
Improved sleep, better quality sleep, inner peace, reduce stress, anxiety, and depression, improved mood, improved relationships. They're just the same. And I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, this is so interesting because the divine wants us to be connected. This is why I said in my definition of spirituality, the divine, and I'm using the word divine and God. And in my definition, I use the words connected to something greater than ourselves. But, and I don't want to create any blocks for the listener because it's not a religious thing. It's a relationship. It's a connection. It's the divine. It's so hard to talk about because we don't have the lexicon for these concepts. So anyway, sorry, my husband just walked in. Anyway.
Okay. Well, I think that what you're talking about, again, in any language, God, the divine, higher power, life force energy, again, different people, will choose one of those, and that means what we're talking about. That higher power, that being connected and everything. And I think it's interesting because when you're talking about all the studies, talking about gratitude and how important that gratitude, and again, gratitude can mean different things to different people, but I know that Mr. Trivedi has said that gratitude is very foundational in helping to become more connected to your life force energy or to your higher power, God, the God of your understanding, the divine. I know for me personally, before I met Mr. Trivedi, I didn't use the word divine to mean God.
Right.
It just wasn't. Again, it wasn't part of my everyday vocabulary. Now I will use that term. And again, I do like the God of your understanding just because for many people that helps them to process it a little bit. But again, it could either be a block or it could be a gate.
Right.
It could either be a wall or it could be a gate to understanding that deep connection. And it's interesting because earlier today, you told me, you said, well, I'd like to talk about fear, gratitude, and effort.
Right. And this is the next
thing about that. And so effort, that is such a powerful connecting word, and it's just a powerful word when you just think about it. The effort it takes to understand, to live in gratitude, to live in a connected state. It's very interesting. So I'll let you expand on that.
Yeah, I think, this is what I've been thinking about so much lately, these concepts of fear. So you have to be responsible. You have to acknowledge your fear. You have to be aware. And that's effort. That's effort. And when you are responsible, then you're able to give. Giving is part of the whole thing of gratitude. It's part of how you build gratitude. I mean, how do you build gratitude? You say thank you. You give things away. You give your time. You give your money. You give your information. You might do a speech. You might. Those kinds of things are part of gratitude. Or you. Another thing, and so when you're building in the research, I'm just having have so many things going on in my head, but the research on gratitude is all done by, or most of it is by people who have a gratitude journal. And so if you write in a journal for 5 minutes a day, a gratitude journal for 5 minutes a day for 6 months, then you get all these benefits. And they've compared it to an improvement that's equal to doubling your income. So if you think about what you earn and then you doubled it, it's the same kind of improvement in health and well-being. And it's simply by effort. It's simply by writing in this journal 5 minutes a day. But the problem with that is that when you stop writing in your journal, you lose the benefits. So, I mean, this is what the research says. So it's and this happens to people all the time. They have all these good, it's like New Year's resolutions. You just want to do them.
Good intentions.
Your good intentions, and you do it for a while, but then you can't sustain it. And it happens all the time. And so the effort for gratitude just needs to always be there so I just kept asking myself, how do we get beyond effort? How do we get beyond effort? And I was thinking about what Gurji Mahendra Trivedi has said about just the proportions of our body and spirit. Like he said that the body and the mind is 1% of our totality, but our spirit is 99% of our totality. So when we're using effort, when we're saying thank you, when we're mindful and being responsible about being grateful and trying to expand on our gratitude, that is really addressing the 1% of our body and mind. And so I thought, well, how do you get past that? How do you get to the 99% so that you really grow? And I thought, well, it's transformation. It's transformation. So that's the difference between gratitude and the Trivedi effect, because the Trivedi effect is all about transformation. And the Trivedi effect connects you to the divine, connects you to the God of your understanding. And the benefits are the same as with gratitude, but it's a little different because it's more like a gift from the divine. And so I thought, well, okay, there's effort, and effort is great. I think everybody needs to have effort. But there's also the other side that is the gift. And that's like with my mom and her broken foot. She had that gift. She received that gift through the Trivedi effect. And it didn't have to be that her foot was repaired. It could have been, because the divine it's intelligent energy. It always knows what's best for you. But I think the true extent of gratitude is when the gift comes from the divine, and every single action that you take place is a reflection or experience of gratitude.
Wow, that's so beautiful. And I think you just expressed what true gratitude is in what you just said. That when you are expressing that thankfulness or that gratitude for the gift that you've been given. And all of us, we are actually a walking, living gift, receiving the gift 24/7, 365, every second, every second. And we just don't even fathom the gift that we're all given just by being here, right now. And I think that's really interesting because, again, all of this stuff gets in the way for most of us. And just like you said, it goes to that consciousness. And I think as the consciousness of a spirit or a human being rises, they start to understand that what they're actually being grateful for in that. But I think that's interesting about the effort and then the gift, because here we are. We put a lot of effort into many, many things all the time, both negative and positive. It takes effort.
Right.
But like you said, with the Trivedi effect, it's a gift. You don't really have to do anything.
Right.
Because you are connected.
Right.
Wow, that's pretty profound.
Yeah, it feels like, you still have to have effort. You can't just, it's true that you said you don't have to do anything. It's again, one of these things that are so hard to communicate.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that's why we're having this conversation, because there's that fine line of what does that mean? And again, for each person, just like the God of your understanding, that definition, it could be different for you, for me. And that's why I love these conversations, because it helps me to understand a little bit more from someone else's perspective. And because that way I'm not just trying to process this all myself, trying to figure this stuff out. And wow, that's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, and that's the connection. That's the spiritualism, because we're connected to something greater than ourselves. Everybody is connected to something greater than ourselves. And we are connected to each other through love and compassion. And love and compassion is gratitude. So you and I talking experience this connection to something greater than ourselves. We're both experiencing that. And then and that's part of the transformation. So it's like, the whole thing with the Trivedi effect is that transformation is the key. Growing is the key. Raising your level of consciousness is the key. And anyway, it's kind of like...
I think that this is a prime example when two or more people get together and they start to talk about, well, what is this? What is this connection? Does it mean to be spiritual? What doesn't it mean? How does it all fit together? What are some of these feelings and emotions? It helps us all be connected through that love and compassion. And then it also helps us to become better conduits so that we can be better connected to life force energy and to the God of our understanding. So I think today, it's been a very powerful conversation. So if somebody wants to reach out to you, Joy, how can they do that?
They can go to my website, www.joyblessings.com. And then, the contact information is all there.
Yes. And the good thing about your website, because I'm there right now, not only do you have all the contact information, but you can learn more about joy. You can learn more about the different science. And again, we're talking about thousands and thousands of experiments on all different kinds of things, ranging from agriculture to life sciences, material sciences. There's a lot of testimonials, FAQs, and of course, Joy also has a blog on her website, so you can learn more. Before I let you go, is there anything that you'd like to leave our audience with today?
Just that I'm grateful for these interviews, Tammy, and for talking with you. It's very, for me, it's just so nice to be able to connect and talk about these issues that are so hard to talk about. Thank you.
Well, this is my opinion. I think today we really had some eye-opening content, because I think, it's very thought-provoking to think about, well, what does it mean to be connected not only to our source, but to everyone else? And what is spirituality in the reality of everything, not in the realm of religion, but in the concept of being connected. So I really appreciate that. So thank you so much, Joy.
Thank you.
Everyone, this is Tammy Patzer. Go make it a beautiful day.
You've been listening to Daily Success. Tune in again and subscribe. Never miss a moment of daily success.